Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, thank you. I'm Jackie LaFaro, director of the festival. In case you don't know who I am, I'm supposed to always say my name. This is a very, very special day for us because it's an opportunity to recognize an actor from our community, Sloane Shelton, who over the years, in the many roles that she played, manifested courage and sincerity and all of those good qualities that sometimes we wish we had. Sloane had them throughout her career and is recognized in that community. And Jan Buckaloo, her partner, has supported this award for some time. And it is the Sloane Shelton Human Rights Award. And so with all of the films that we have looked through, this Gay Chorus Deep South, hands down, wins. Jan saw it this summer and was in tears, and she said, yes, that's it. So I am going to, for Jan and for Sloane, give the award, the Sloane Shelton Human Rights Award, to the filmmaker David Charles Rodrigues. This is your award. He wants to take a picture.
Thank you. It's a cool award. Yeah, well, first, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Karen, as well. And it's really an honor to be here. I also wanted to share this award with my producer, Bud Johnston, who's here as well. Bud, please stand up. Thank you. And obviously share it with the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus and the Oakland Interfaith Gospel Choir, because they're the true heroes of this story, and they deserve this award more than anyone. It's interesting, you know, if you think about what human rights means, it means that it's the right to be human, right? And it's sad that we're still fighting for the right to be human. But I think that, you know, what I hope you'll see in the film is that this film is not a film just about gay rights, but it's a film about the other. And it's a film about helping bridge the divisiveness that we're going through right now, and understanding that we're at a time, especially next year, you know, especially 2020, which is a big year in our country, where we all have to come together. You know, whether it's Black rights, Latino rights, women's rights, gay rights, everyone who is the other needs to come together and fight for our humanity right now. And yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Roger Sherman. I'm a member of the advisory board, and I'm a documentary filmmaker. And it's a thrill to talk to you both. Congratulations on this award. Your first award was at Tribeca, I understand. So now you have two, and you've been at 2 film festivals. Is that right?
Exactly.
How many film festivals?
I think around 150.
So we're very lucky to have you.
No, we're very lucky to be here, yeah.
You said before when we were chatting that you heard that this tour was going to happen. How long before the tour was that?
So the chorus announced the tour a day after the elections in 2016, and the tour happened in October of 2017. So
you
about
had
10
a year
months.
to put it together. And in filmmaking terms, and that's what we're going to concentrate on, filmmaking here, you're probably going to have lots of questions which we will open to you about the chorus and how they work and all those things. But they might have some of those answers, but that's not why they're here. So let's ask filmmaking questions. You had a year to put that together, which in filmmaking terms is not a very long time.
Well, in theory, since February, yeah. So
since February.
Yeah, we started the project in February.
But as the producer, are you responsible for fundraising? Do you do that together? What's your...
Well, I think, yes. I mean, it was a slightly unique situation that we were in because we the film was funded by Airbnb, completely funded by Airbnb.
They've done that a lot?
They have never done that. So, it was, without going into a long, drawn-out story, it was a very tumultuous kind of up and down, back and forth with them. In theory, not in theory, they were behind the idea of telling this story 100% from the first time that we brought it up to them, and to them, and meaning the stakeholders that we were working directly with that are involved in storytelling within the company. And really, it was about telling a story that aligned with the company's values of belonging and acceptance, and essentially about travel, about being able to feel like you belong anywhere, no matter who you are, wherever you go. And so it was really kind of that mission-driven kind of idea that they were attracted to, and really what got us kind of going on the project. But then, as with any film, there was a lot of back and forth and fundraising as we went along, that we had to do in phases as the project progressed. So that was challenging.
David, this is your first documentary feature.
Yes, it is.
Now that's something. And mostly you've done commercials and other short films?
Yeah, commercials, other short films. I have a feature that it was a more experimental documentary that I did through the Sundance New Frontier program before this one. But this is the first feature-length documentary.
And I assume you learned along the process that doing a full-length documentary isn't just putting a lot of short films together. Can you talk about some of the challenges of making a film? I mean, it's not that, well, let me say it this way. Films are made in the editing room. And you can take a subject as fantastic as this and make a pretty good film out of it. But you never know if it's going to be a great film until you get out of the editing room. So how'd you do it?
Yeah, well, we were very fortunate to work with Jeff Gilbert, who's an incredible editor. And me and him worked very closely for around 9 months. I think the biggest learning for me was to trust the process and to understand that the more time you spend on it, the better it will get, and really overcoming that anxiety and impatience was the biggest challenge, being the first film. Francis Ford Coppola has a great quote, which he says that a film is never good as the dailies, and it's never bad as the rough cut, and I kind of took that to heart. As we were going through the rough cut stages and then the test screenings, those were kind of the most challenging moments, actually, to just be able to kill your darlings. And we had a fourth character with a complete arc throughout the film that we completely had to cut him out because it just didn't belong, and it was very hard, and it was a beautiful story. And so it's challenging, but we're very grateful with how the film turned out, and we're all very proud of it, and yeah.
So let's talk about characters. It would have been a very nice film had the director of the chorus, what is his name?
Tim Seelig.
Had Tim just been a nice guy and not been a profound, incredible speaker who had a history that he had. I mean, we say in documentaries that things can be dramatic, but until you find somebody that has incredible drama, that's truly a gift. And he makes your film. I mean, there's lots of fantastic elements, but you really lucked out with him. When did you realize that?
Actually, we were talking about that earlier today, and so the very first time when we started talking to them, the very first time we were invited to go see the chorus perform. It was, every, 3 or 4 times a year they do big performances in San Francisco. And we go there and, Bud's seated next to the president of the chorus. And all of a sudden, during the intermission, something happened. And the show got delayed, and Tim was there kind of holding it together and kind of making jokes to the crowd. And And little did we know that a chorus member had died on stage right during intermission. And he knew that, and he was still holding court and still trying to keep everyone positive and everyone together. And from that moment on, we were like, oh my, this man is a superhero, you know?
Yeah, and I think just to add, the other thing I think we realized was what a community, really a family that the chorus was, and that they were all, you know, so completely committed to each other. And they didn't, the reason Tim was out there holding court was because they were trying to continue the show. And it was decided that the chorus members could not perform, so they did not continue the show that night. But Tim was out there in front of the crowd, and the crowd was, you know, everyone was crying, and they didn't say that someone had died, but it was very apparent that Ryan, something tragic had happened. Yeah. And it was just there was this like group hug that everyone in the auditorium had, and it was like profound to us. And we went and had to have a whiskey after. It was just like, we were so touched, and it was so, we didn't know exactly what had happened, but we just were incredibly touched by what had transpired, and how Tim had gone out in front of that crowd and done what he did.
And the true beauty and also irony about Tim is that he learned those tools and how to be who he is through the church, right? The very Baptist church that, you know, ruined his life was the one that taught him to be who he is and empowered him to fight, you know, on the other side. So
but that he wouldn't just be the nice guy and say, oh, you won't let us sing here, okay. That he actually kept pushing, I think is a transformative times in the film. Let's talk about the subjects. That always is what makes a film, is who is in it. You have 300 people to choose from, which on the one hand is an abundance of riches, on the other hand it's really tough. How did you find them, the ones that you wanted? Was it just filming as you went, or did you figure that out in advance?
Well, we had 300 cameras. No, I'm just kidding. We actually made this film with 2 cameras. We had our main team was 4 people, and then during the tour we were able to scale up to 8, and that's it. And that said, because we had limited resources and limited budget and limited people, we had to really be very thoughtful and plan everything in advance as much as we could. Of course, with enough space for serendipity and surprises. But the character study was not different, where Bud had set up a meeting with Chris and Tim. It was our first meeting for us to pitch them the idea. And I sat down the day before and I wrote 20 dream characters, you know, knowing the story and knowing the potential of the story and the conflict of, you know, a San Francisco gay chorus in the Deep South. So, you know, I wrote down, you know, a chorus member who was from the South and was rejected from his father. You know, a trans person, you know, a person dealing with, you know, substance abuse and so forth. And then I showed it to Tim and Chris, and they, you know, they kind of...
That narrows it to 150.
Yeah. No, and then they were like, well, you know, the good news is that, you know, we have every single person on your list. And then Bud produced and put together, he had this great idea that was, you know, really kicked everything off for us of, you know, he's like, let's just do a casting session. So we got those 20 people and we did a casting session, and that was the beginning of all of it. And then we were able to pare it down to 4 kind of featured subjects, and then 3 ended up making the final cut.
Did you know that woman was going to come with a quilt?
No, no.
Amazing.
No, there's,
Amazing.
That was incredible. Yeah.
Flexibility is the key to success in documentary filmmaking.
Yeah, but you know, what we did is we knew that we would find, you know, it was very important for us to give voice to the people in the South. So we set up that lavender backdrop. In our perspective, that's kind of conceptually, that's the chorus of the South, right? You have the San Francisco chorus, you have the Oakland choir, and then the chorus of the South are those people who are speaking with that lavender backdrop. And we had hope, you know, we didn't know, we had hope that would help introduce us to some profound experiences, and that's how we met the woman who had brought the quilt. And the best part is her and Julian met on Facebook because they play Candy Crush together. You know, like, it's just, yeah.
Do we have a couple of questions? Yes, there.
Thank you for a wonderful film, and I'm wondering if it's going to be on any platform so we can recommend it to people.
Well, yes, it will. We don't know exactly when that will be. MTV Documentary Films has bought the film, so right now we're really kind of finishing up our festival run, and we're hoping that in the spring we'll have more detail about, well, hopefully before the spring, but in the spring we'll have more of a wide release. But we don't know exactly when and where that will be right now.
Yes.
Did you say you were in 150 festivals, or there are 150 festivals?
The film is in over 150 around the world, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about the interaction between, or getting together of the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus and the Interfaith Chorus? It appears they didn't always perform together. What, just speak to their getting together and performing together, and did the Oakland group only come for part of the tour? It appeared they weren't together all the time.
Well, they were on the entire tour. The tour itself was only 9 days, so it was very condensed. It was the most scary schedule I'd ever seen, especially as we were thinking about how to produce all of this.
25 performances in 9 days
Yeah.
in 5 states.
But the way that it worked was that the chorus, the San Francisco chorus, would do the majority of the concert, and the Oakland chorus would kind of finish out the concert. So they do about 3 or 4 songs towards the end of each concert, each big performance.
And then at the end they would perform together.
And then they would perform together. But then they also broke off into separate groups for smaller performances at churches, at schools, and sometimes, like for instance, at the church in Selma, it was really the Oakland choir that kind of led the charge on that piece, because they were a gospel choir and they were able to kind of open doors that, that the church in Selma wasn't comfortable having the headline be the gay chorus being there. So it was. Yes, that's Val, right?
Yes.
Can you speak to what happened to Tim's family? Did he ever reconnect? Oh, did he ever reconnect with his family?
Yeah, yes, he did. So, Tim a few years later was able to fully reconnect with his daughter. His daughter has been, his best friend and huge supporter his whole life. He has a granddaughter. His son, they did reconnect, but they were estranged until the son graduated from college, so for many, many years. And what happened was the son met this woman who he wanted to get married with, and then his fiance at the time said, "I'll only marry you if I can meet your dad." And then the son was like, "Tim, Dad," and then Tim was like, "Well, I'll only go to dinner if I can bring my husband." And then they had a double date, and they've been in each other's lives ever since. And this is years ago. And now he has 3 grandkids through his son as well. And it's just awesome.
Great, thank you. Before we thank them officially, I'm going to make a plug. 12 noon tomorrow is my film called The Second Life of Jamie P. Jamie Peebles is here in the audience right now, and I hope you will come. It furthers this cause that we've been talking about, and I just want to thank you both for making a really, really fabulous film.
You.
Let's give them a big round.
Thank you.